Namaste for all. Today I am going to do my presentation on prenatal environmental influences. Prenatal environmental influences in the sense what are all the environmental factors that affects either positively or negatively on the prenatal period, especially during the pregnancy period, on the newly born baby. The main objective of my this presentation is I want to do the main goal is I want to explain the role of mother's nature as well as the inner environment, how they influence on newly born babies behavior. So the role of the mother's nature is also important. Mother's nature ತಾಯಿಯ ಸ್ವಭಾವ ಕೂಡ ಮುಖ್ಯ ಪಾತ್ರ ವಹಿಸ್ತದೆ. And the inner environment, the baby's inner environment, in the sense the womb environment, mother's womb environment is also influences on the newly born baby's behavior. These are all the factors influences on newly born baby's behavior. ಹೊಸದಾಗಿ ಜನಿಸುವಂಥ ಮಗುವಿನ ವರ್ತನೆಯ ಮೇಲೆ ಈ ಎಲ್ಲ ಅಂಶಗಳು ಪ್ರಭಾವ ಬೀರ್ತದೆ. ಇದನ್ನು ನಾನು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೇನ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ, ಇದನ್ನು ನಾನು ವಿವರಿಸಿ ಹೇಳಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ. ಇದು ನನ್ನ ಮೇನ್ ಗೋಲ್. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಟು ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ environmental influences in the developing child as well as the complications of the childbirth. To understand, let them to understand the environmental influences. See, there are two types of environment: internal environmental, inner environmental or internal environment, in the sense the baby inside the womb environment, as well as the external environmental. Once the baby comes out, the external environment, in the sense the family conditions, neighbor, the mother's nature as well as the mother's behavior, and the neighbors and the outside people's nature and behavior, and conditions, what are all the outside conditions also influences on the developing baby. ಸೊ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಕೂಡ ಬಾಹ್ಯ ಮತ್ತು ಮಗು ಭ್ರೂಣದೊಳಗಿರುವಂಥ ವಾತಾವರಣ ಕೂಡ, ಇದೆರಡೂ ಕೂಡ ಮಗುವಿನ ಬೆಳವಣಿಗೆಯ ಮೇಲೆ ಪ್ರಭಾವ ಬೀರ್ತದೆ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದಿ ಕಾಂಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಚೈಲ್ಡ್ ಬರ್ತ್, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದ ಕಾಂಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ಸ್, ವಾಟ್ ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ ದಿ ಕಾಂಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ಸ್ the mother may faces while giving a birth to a baby. ಸೊ ದೀಸ್ ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ ದಿ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ಸ್. ಅಂದರೆ ತಾಯಿ ಮಗುವಿಗೆ ಜನನ ನೀಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಆಕೆ ಪಡುವಂತಹ ಯಾತನೆಗಳು, ಇದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಅರ್ಥೈಸಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳುವಂಥದ್ದು ದ ಮೇನ್ ಆಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟಿವ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಮೇನ್ ಏಮ್ ಆಫ್ ಮೈ ಸ್ಟಡಿ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದ ಔಟ್ಕಮ್ಸ್, ವಾಟ್ ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ ದ ಔಟ್ಕಮ್ಸ್, ಆಲ್ ದ ರಿಸಲ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದೇ ಶುಡ್ ಬಿ ಏಬಲ್ ಟು ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ದ internal and external environmental conditions. See, once they attend the sessions, they have the got enough knowledge about internal and external environmental conditions of the mother and how they influences on growth and development of the newly born baby, how these conditions and mother's internal and external environmental conditions, and how these are all influences on the growth and development of the newly born baby. And by doing this they can help oneself in the sense to they can help their family, and also to the society they can spread the knowledge. Once they get the knowledge, they can spread the knowledge to others as well as oneself. And the contents, what are all the contents I have added in this topic is introduction, main introductions about the prenatal influences, what are all the environmental factors, and then the teratogens. Most of you, I hope most of them have didn't hear this word. Teratogens is nothing but environmental factors. Then I will explain what is this. Then the timing of harmful influences, in which stages, what all the harmful may happens in in which conditions, in what level. So then the fetal alcohol syndrome, then the pregnancy smoking. If the mother smokes or mother drinks during the time of pregnancy, what all things happens that I have mentioned. Then the maternal disease and age, maternal disease and the age is also an important factor in environmental influences. Then the references, what all the books I have referred to cover this topic I have mentioned. And the MCQs, multiple choice questions, ಬಹು ಆಯ್ಕೆಯ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳನ್ನು I have added to help you for the exams. That is the homework especially I have given for you. Why? Because I didn't give the answers. By throughout these sessions itself you can find the answers. So First one is the introduction, prenatal environmental influences. The first one. See the introduction, the prenatal environment is far more constant than the world outside the womb. Prenatal environment. See, once the baby, when the baby comes out from the world, is more important, but than this one, inside the environment is far more important than the world outside the womb. So internal environment is most important. When the baby inside the womb, that condition is more important than the world outside the womb. External environment, internal environment is more important than the external environment. Why? Because internal environment is much most influences on the baby's conditions, or on the baby, influences on baby's behavior than the outer world. ಸೊ ಬಾಹ್ಯ ಪ್ರಪಂಚಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಒಳಗಿನ ಪ್ರಪಂಚವೇ ತುಂಬಾ ಪ್ರಾಮುಖ್ಯವಾಗಿರ್ತದೆ. ಯಾಕೆಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಒಳಗಿನ ಪ್ರಪಂಚವೇ ಮಗು ಭ್ರೂಣದ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಗರ್ಭದ ಒಳಗಿರುವಂತಹ ವಾತಾವರಣದಲ್ಲಿ ತುಂಬಾ ಬದಲಾವಣೆಗಳು ನಡೀತದೆ ಮತ್ತು ಡೇಂಜರಸ್ ಕೂಡ, ಅಪಾಯಕಾರಿ ಘಟನೆಗಳು ನಡೀತವೆ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದಾಗಿ ಒಳಗಿನ ಪರಿಸರ ಅತಿ ಮುಖ್ಯ. ಸೊ ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ಮಚ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ parents and society as a whole responsible to create a safe environment before the birth. So there is much that. So this is the main duty of the parents as well as the society as a whole. They are the responsible. See, ಇದು ಹೆತ್ತವರು ಮತ್ತು ಸಮಾಜದ ಜವಾಬ್ದಾರಿ ಟು ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಅ ಸೇಫ್ ಎನ್ವಿರಾನ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಫಾರ್ ದಿ ಬೇಬಿ ಬಿಫೋರ್ the baby takes the birth, before the baby coming to the coming to the external world or taken birth. See, so they have to create a safe environment. ತುಂಬಾ ಜಾಗೃತಿಯಾದಂಥ ಜಗತ್ತನ್ನು ಅವರು ತುಂಬಾ ಸೃಷ್ಟಿ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ ಮಗುವಿಗೋಸ್ಕರ. ಮಗುವಿನ ಜನನ ಆಗುವುದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಮೊದಲು ಅವರು ಅಷ್ಟು ರೆಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸಿಬಲ್, ಅಷ್ಟು ಜವಾಬ್ದಾರಿ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ದೇ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಟೇಕ್ ದ ಫುಲ್ ರೆಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸಿಬಲ್ ಟು ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಎ ಸೇಫ್, ವೆರಿ ಸೇಫ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಗುಡ್ ಎನ್ವಿರಾನ್ಮೆಂಟ್. ಸೊ ದ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಒನ್ ಈಸ್ teratogens. As I have already mentioned, since now maybe most of you have didn't heard about the teratogen word. Teratogen is nothing but it refers to as any environmental agent, any environmental conditions or any environmental factors that causes damage. See, any environmental agent, either it is the internal or the external. So it comes from the Greek word. ಇದು ಬಂದದ್ದು, ಈ ಟೆರಾಟೋಜೆನ್ ಎನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದು ಬೇರೆ ಏನು ಅಲ್ಲ, ಒಂದು ಪರಿಸರದ ಘಟಕ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಪರಿಸರದ ವಾತಾವರಣದ ಒಂದು ಅಂಶ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು. ದಟ್ ಕಾಸ್ ಡ್ಯಾಮೇಜ್. ಇದು ಏನಾಗ್ತದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಅಪಾಯಕಾರಿ ಸಂಭವಿಸುವಂಥ ಮಗುವಿಗೆ, ಹುಟ್ಟುವಂಥ ಮಗುವಿಗೆ ಅಪಾಯಕಾರಿ ಆಗಬಹುದು ಇದರಿಂದ. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಕಮ್ಸ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದಿ ಗ್ರೀಕ್ ವರ್ಡ್ ದಟ್ ಟೆರಾಸ್, comes from the Greek word teras. So it means malformation or monstrosity. Malformation in the sense there may be a problem occur for the newly born baby, or monstrosity. Monstrosity in the sense the structure of the baby is not normal. Malformation is also the same one. Abnormality may happens for the baby because of the dangerous environmental factors. So babies had been profoundly damaged due to harm done by teratogen. So babies had been profoundly damaged due to harm done by the teratogens. See, babies may have a severe, very severe damage because of the harm done by the teratogens. If the environmental factors are harmful, or if the environmental factors may do the harms to the baby, that becomes very harmful condition or very severe conditions. Severe damage happens to the baby. ಈ ಕೆಟ್ಟದಾದ ಪರಿಸರದ ಅಂಶಗಳು ಏನಾದರೂ ಉಂಟಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಗುವಿಗೆ ಅಪಾಯಕಾರಿ ಅಥವಾ ಏನಾದರೂ ಡೇಂಜರಸ್ ಆಗುವಂತ ತುಂಬಾ ತೀವ್ರವಾದಂತಹ ಗಂಭೀರವಾದಂತಹ ಅಪಾಯ ಸಂಭವಿಸುವಂತ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಇದೆ. Babies may born or babies may face most harmful conditions because of once the teratogens happens in a negative way. So the next one, teratogen depends on these factors. See, teratogens, environmental factors, all this depends on these factors. There's a dose, heredity, other negative influences, and age. See, dose in the sense, if the dose of the over long period, if the dose in the sense the level of the conditions is for longer period of time, the damage is also occur for long time. Lifelong the damage will be happens. Lifetime, till the lifetime, till the death, the baby will faces the problems. Most major problems occur. If the larger the doses, over long time periods, if the dose is more, if the environmental factors intensity is very more, ತೀವ್ರತೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇದ್ರೆ, ಈ ಪರಿಸರದ ಘಟಕಗಳ ಪ್ರಭಾವ ತುಂಬ ಗಂಭೀರವಾಗಿದ್ರೆ, it is more dangerous or where intensity is more, larger doses over longer time periods of the uterus or the baby faces longer time periods ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ದ ಬೇಬಿ ಫೇಸಸ್ ಒಂದು ವೇಳೆ ತುಂಬ ಸಮಯ ಅಥವಾ ತುಂಬ ತೀವ್ರವಾದ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ, ತೀವ್ರವಾದ ಪರಿಸರದ ಅಂಶವು ತುಂಬ ತೀವ್ರವಾಗಿದ್ದರೆ, ತುಂಬ ಅಪಾಯಕಾರಿಯಾಗಿದ್ದರೆ, ಮಗುವಿಗೆ ತುಂಬ ಲಾಂಗರ್ ಅಂದರೆ ತುಂಬ ದೀರ್ಘ ಸಮಯದವರೆಗೆ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳು ಬರ್ತದೆ. ದೆನ್ ಹೆರಿಡಿಟಿ ಇಸ್ ದ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್. ಸಿ, ಇಫ್ genetic makeup of the mother, if the mother has any genetic diseases or the mother's family possesses genetic diseases, that is also a responsible factor for the next or newly born baby. So upcoming generation, that spreads to the upcoming generation. ಜೆನೆಟಿಕ್ ಮೇಕಪ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಅನುವಂಶೀಯ ರೋಗಗಳು ಏನಾದರೂ ಇದ್ದಲ್ಲಿ ತಾಯಿಯ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಅಥವಾ ತಂದೆಯ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದನೂ ಅಷ್ಟೇ, ಆಸ್ ವೆಲ್ ಆಸ್ ದ ಫಾದರ್ಸ್ ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿ ಆಲ್ಸೋ, ಇಫ್ ಎನಿ ಜೆನೆಟಿಕ್ ಮೇಕಪ್ ಆರ್ ಜೆನೆಟಿಕ್ ಡಿಸೀಸಸ್ ಆರ್ ದೇರ್, that spreads to the newly born baby. Newly born baby also carries the same genes, so genetic diseases happens for the newly born babies also. ಒಂದು ವೇಳೆ ಅನುವಂಶೀಯ ಕಾಯಿಲೆಗಳು ಇದ್ದರೆ ತಾಯಿಯಲ್ಲಿ, ಅದು ಮಗುವಿಗೆ ಬರುವಂಥ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಇರ್ತದೆ. ದೆನ್ other negative factors such as poor nutrition, then lack of medical care, in the sense other negative influences ಅಂದರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಋಣಾತ್ಮಕ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳು, ಅಂಶಗಳು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, such as poor nutrition in the sense if they take the food in a random time, or they are very neglecting while taking the foods or very healthy food, that also leads to the malnutrition to the newly born baby, or lack of medical care. If the mother is not caring about the medical care, or because of the poor financial condition, if they fail to get enough medical care for the baby, because of these lack of medical care also, the teratogens, the problems occur from the newly born baby. ಒಂದು ಬರೀ ಅಂದರೆ ಪೌಷ್ಟಿಕಾಂಶದ ಕೊರತೆಯಿಂದಾಗಿ ಕೂಡ ಮಗುವಿಗೆ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳು ಬರ್ತದೆ. ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಪುವರ್ ನ್ಯೂಟ್ರಿಷನ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ದಿ ಪುವರ್ ಪ್ರೋಟೀನ್ ಇನ್ ದ food, in the intake of the mother's food, or mothers fail to take the food on time, that is also leads to a problem in the newly born baby. And lack of medical care ಅಂದರೆ ವೈದ್ಯಕೀಯ ಒಂದು ಸಹಾಯ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಸಿಗದೇ ಇದ್ದಲ್ಲಿ, ವೈದ್ಯಕೀಯ ಸವಲತ್ತುಗಳು ಅವರಿಗೆ ಸಿಗದೇ ಹೋದಲ್ಲಿ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ poor conditions or the poor financial conditions, there may be a chances of lack of medical care that leads to a problem in the child. ಸೊ ಮೆಡಿಕಲ್ ಕೇರ್, ವೈದ್ಯಕೀಯ ಅವಶ್ಯಕತೆಗಳು ಅವರಿಗೆ ಸಿಗದೆ ಹೋದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಗುವಿಗೆ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ದೆನ್ ದ ಏಜ್ ಈಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಒನ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್. ದಿ ಎಫೆಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಟೆರಾಟೋಜೆನ್ಸ್ ವೇರಿ ವಿತ್ ದಿ ಏಜ್ ಆಫ್ ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನಿಸಮ್ಸ್. ಇಫ್ ದಿ ಮದರ್ ಫೇಲ್ಸ್ ಟು, if the lady become mother during the different age, in the self during the 35 to 40 age, that is also leads to problems in the newly born baby. So why? Because the baby mother unable to produce the very healthy and very strong ovum. So that is the reason why, because of that weak ovum, the newly born baby, the chromosomal abnormalities happens for the newly born baby, or any kinds of abnormalities that carry over in the newly born baby. So teratogens, in the sense that the effects of teratogens ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ವೇರಿ ವಿತ್ ದ ಏಜ್ ಆಫ್ ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನಿಸಮ್. ಒಂದು ವೇಳೆ ತಾಯಿ ಒಂದು either the if not only in the 35 to 40 years, if the mother teenage mothers, if the mother gives birth to the birth to a baby during the teenagers itself, that conditions also very bad. That conditions also occur, that conditions also negatively occurs, negatively have an impact on the newly born baby. See, ಒಂದು ವೇಳೆ ಟೀನೇಜ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಎಳೆಯ ವಯಸ್ಸಿನಲ್ಲಿ, ಆರ್ ಇನ್ ದಿ ವೆರಿ old adulthood age, if the lady becomes a mother, problems happens to the newly born babies. They chromosomal abnormalities happens for the newly born baby. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ವರ್ಣತಂತುಗಳ ವಿಕೃತಿ ಆಗುವಂತ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಇರ್ತದೆ ಈ ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲಿ ತಾಯಿ ಗರ್ಭ ಧರಿಸಿದ್ರೆ. ಒಂದು ವಯಸ್ಸಲ್ಲದ ವಯಸ್ಸಿನಲ್ಲಿ, ಸಣ್ಣ ಎಳೆಯ ವಯಸ್ಸಿನಲ್ಲಿ, ಮತ್ತೊಂದು ತುಂಬಾ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಪ್ರೌಢಾವಸ್ಥೆ ತಲುಪಿದ ನಂತರ 35-40 ವರ್ಷ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ತಾಯಿ ಉತ್ಪತ್ತಿ ಮಾಡುವಂತ ಅಂಡಾಣು ಅಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಂಗ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಪ್ರಬಲವಾಗಿರುವುದಿಲ್ಲ, ತುಂಬಾ ವೀಕ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತದೆ, ದುರ್ಬಲವಾಗಿರ್ತದೆ. ಇದರಿಂದ ಹುಟ್ಟುವಂತ ಮಗುವಿಗೆ ಕ್ರೋಮೋಸೋಮಲ್ ಅಬ್ನಾರ್ಮಾಲಿಟಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ವರ್ಣತಂತುಗಳ ವಿಕೃತಿ ಆಗುವಂತ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆಗಳು ಇದೆ. ದೆನ್ ದಿ ಟೈಮಿಂಗ್ ಆಫ್ ಹಾರ್ಮ್ಫುಲ್ ಇನ್ಫ್ಲುಯೆನ್ಸಸ್. ದೇರ್ ಆರ್ 3 periods: period of zygote, embryonic period, fetal period. So in these periods there is the different kinds of abnormalities or harmful happens. See, during the period of zygote, just during that time the ovum and sperm gets mingle. Then the tiny mass of cells is usually so damaged that it dies. If that either ovum or sperm becomes weak, that so because of the tiny mass of cells, because of the men can able to produce the vast number of sperm, and here also the women can able to produce only one ovum at a time because of this tiny mass of the cells. Tiny mass of the cells, in the sense small cells, while becomes the cell divisions, during the time of cell divisions damages also occurs. So that time also the zygote may die, the zygote dies, that cell may die because of this, because of the mass cells. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಕೋಶಗಳು ಇರುವುದರಿಂದಾಗಿ, ಸಣ್ಣ ಸಣ್ಣ ಕೋಶಗಳು ಇರುವುದರಿಂದಾಗಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲವು ಸಲ ಡ್ಯಾಮೇಜಸ್ ಅಥವಾ ಏನಾದ್ರೂ ಅಪಾಯಕಾರಿ ಆಗುವಂತ ಸಂದರ್ಭಗಳಿರಬಹುದು. ಅದರಿಂದಾಗಿ ಯಾವುದಾದ್ರೂ ಅಣುಗಳು ಹೋಗ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ ಝೈಗಾಟ್ ಪೀರಿಯಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ, ಅಂಡಾವಧಿಯ ಅವಧಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಮಗು ಸಾಯುವಂತ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆಗಳು ಹೆಚ್ಚಿರ್ತದೆ. ದೆನ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಮಾಸ್ ಸೆಲ್ಸ್, ತುಂಬಾ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸೆಲ್ ಡಿವಿಷನ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಕೋಶ ವಿಭಜನೆ ಹೊಂದುವಂತ ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲಿ, ಡ್ಯೂರಿಂಗ್ ದಿ ಸೆಲ್ ಡಿವಿಷನ್ಸ್ ಡ್ಯಾಮೇಜ್ ಮೇ ಅಕ್ಕರ್. ಸೊ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದಟ್ ಝೈಗಾಟ್ ಮೇ ಡೈಸ್. ಕೋಶ ವಿಭಜನೆಯ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಗು ಸಾಯುವಂತ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆಗಳು ಇರ್ತದೆ. ದೆನ್ ದಿ ಎಂಬ್ರಿಯಾನಿಕ್ ಪೀರಿಯಡ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಸೆನ್ಸ್ ದಿ ಸೀರಿಯಸ್ ಡಿಫೆಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಲೈಕ್ಲಿ ಟು ಅಕ್ಕರ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ದಿ ಫೌಂಡೇಶನ್ ಫಾರ್ ಆಲ್ ಬಾಡಿ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಬಿಗಿನ್. See, the embryonic period in the sense serious defects are most likely to occur ಡ್ಯೂರಿಂಗ್ ದಿ ಎಂಬ್ರಿಯಾನಿಕ್ ಪೀರಿಯಡ್. ಈಗ ಪಿಂಡಾವಧಿಯಲ್ಲಿ, ಅಂಡಾವಧಿ ಆಯಿತು, ಪಿಂಡಾವಧಿ ಆಯಿತು, ಸೀರಿಯಸ್ ಡಿಫೆಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಲೈಕ್ಲಿ ಟು happens because here this rapid development occurs. Much more severe kinds of defects are occur, chromosomal abnormalities or any kinds of problems occur during this kinds of during this period. Why? Because rapid developmental changes happens. The formation takes place over in the mother, over in the baby's body parts, because the foundation for all the conditions happens, for all the body parts are begins here. So if there is any serious defects happens, that leads to a problem in the newly born babies. So then the fetal period in the sense ಭ್ರೂಣಾವಧಿ, teratogenic damage is usually minor. In this condition damage is usually very minor. Only during the embryonic period miscarriage also happens. If there is a defects happens there, that is carry forward to the fetal period. But if there is no defect during the time of embryonic period, then nothing will happens during the fetal period. So in the fetal period damage is very less because of the environmental factors. Damage will not happens. ಸೊ ಭ್ರೂಣಾವಧಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅಪಾಯಕಾರಿ ಘಟನೆಗಳು ಭ್ರೂಣಕ್ಕೆ ಅಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಸಂಭವಿಸುವುದಿಲ್ಲ, ತುಂಬ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಸಂಭವಿಸುವುದು. ಸೊ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ಕನ್ಸೆಪ್ಷನ್ ಕಾಸಸ್ deformities of the embryo's organs after conception causes deformities of the embryo's organs. In the sense, after conception, in the sense, women can produce only one ovum at a time, and men can able to produce a vast number of sperm. So there may be a chances that either women can produce a weak ovum or men can produce a weak sperm. If the any one of them become very weak before mingling, uh, during the conception takes place, if the any one of the either ovum or sperm, any one is weak and mingle each other, then there is during the time of cell divisions also deformities happens, that is carry forward to the embryo's periods also. Embryo's period, during the embryo's periods the body organs are formed. So because of that, deformities happens in the body organs during the embryo's period. ಸಿ ಕನ್ಸೆಪ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಪೀರಿಯಡ್ಸ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೆಂಗಸರಿಗೆ ಉತ್ಪತ್ತಿ ಆಗುವಂಥ ಅಂಡಾಣು ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಗಂಡಸರಿಗೆ ಉತ್ಪತ್ತಿ ಆಗುವಂಥ ಅನೇಕ ವೀರ್ಯಾಣುಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ವೀಕ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಅಥವಾ ಹೆಂಗಸರಲ್ಲಿ ಉತ್ಪತ್ತಿ ಆಗುವಂಥ ಓವಮ್ಮೆ ಅಥವಾ ಅಂಡಾಣುವೆ ವೀಕ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು. ಯಾವುದಾದ್ರೂ ಎರಡರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ದುರ್ಬಲವಾಗಿದ್ರು ಕೂಡ ಇದು ಸಂಯೋಜನೆಗೊಂಡು ಮಿಲನಗೊಳ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ, ಸೆಲ್ ಡಿವಿಷನ್ ಕೋಶ ವಿಭಜನೆಗೊಳ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳು ಉಂಟಾಗಿ ಮುಂದೆ ಪಿಂಡಾವಧಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬಾಡಿ ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನ್ಸ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಅಂದರೆ ಬಾಡಿಲಿ ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಡ್ ಡ್ಯೂರಿಂಗ್ ದಿ ಎಂಬ್ರಿಯೋಸ್ ಪೀರಿಯಡ್, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಎಂಬ್ರಿಯೋಸ್. ಪಿಂಡಾವಧಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ದೇಹದ ಎಲ್ಲ ಭಾಗಗಳು ರಚನೆಗೊಳ್ಳುವುದು ಆವಾಗ. ಈ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಮುಂದುವರಿದು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಪಿಂಡಾವಧಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ದೇಹದ ಭಾಗದ ರಚನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ embryo periods there may be abnormalities how happens in the body organs of the baby. ಸೊ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮಗುವಿನ ದೇಹದ ಅಂಗಾಂಗಗಳ ರಚನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅಪಸಾಮರ್ಥ್ಯತೆ ಕಾಣಿಸಿಕೊಳ್ಳುವ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಇದೆ, ಅಥವಾ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ there may be a problem occurs in the embryos organs. So if the mother, next one is, if mother drinks heavily throughout her pregnancy called as fetal sedative called thalidomide. If mother drinks heavily, if she consumes lots of alcohol throughout her pregnancy, from the beginning till her pregnancy, that is called as, that leads to fetal sedative called as thalidomide. In the sense, fetal will be in a very sleepy mood, ಅಂದರೆ ನಿದ್ರಾಜನಕ ಭ್ರೂಣ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಒಂದು ವೇಳೆ ತಾಯಿ ತುಂಬ ಅಂದರೆ ತುಂಬ ಹೆವಿಯಾಗಿ ತುಂಬ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಕೆ ಮದ್ಯಪಾನ ಮಾಡಿದರೆ ಗರ್ಭಧಾರಣೆಯ ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲಿ, ಗರ್ಭಿಣಿಯಾದ ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು ಆಕೆಗೆ ಹುಟ್ಟುವಂಥ ಮಗು ನಿದ್ರಾಜನಕ ಮಗು ಅಥವಾ ನಿದ್ರಾಜನಕ ಭ್ರೂಣವಾಗಿ ಹುಟ್ಟುವ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಇದೆ, ನಿದ್ರಾಜನಕ ಭ್ರೂಣವಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಇಫ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಟೇಕನ್ ಬೈ ಮದರ್ಸ್ ಡ್ಯೂರಿಂಗ್ ದಿ 4 to 6 weeks leads to fetal alcohol syndrome. See, if the mother consumes the alcohol during the 4 to 6 weeks, in the sense 1.5 month, during 1 to 1.5 weeks, 1.5 month, that leads to fetal alcohol syndrome. ಇದನ್ನು ಹೀಗೇನೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಭ್ರೂಣ ಮದ್ಯಪಾನದ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಅಥವಾ ರೋಗ ಬರಬಹುದು. ಭ್ರೂಣ ಮದ್ಯಪಾನದ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಅಥವಾ ರೋಗ, ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ನಥಿಂಗ್ ಬಟ್ ದಿ ಮೇನ್ ಸಿಂಪ್ಟಮ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿಸ್ syndrome is mental retardation may happens for the child. mental retardation, ಮಗು ಬುದ್ಧಿಮಾಂದ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಹುಟ್ಟಬಹುದು. there may be impaired in motor coordination. See, motor coordination in the sense either the baby's the legs or arms or neck or body parts, there may be a problems occur or impairment occurs, abnormality occurs, or there may not be a coordination in the legs while moving or while walking or while moving the arms also. there may be a less coordination occurs for the motor area. ಅಂದರೆ ಕೈಕಾಲುಗಳ ಚಲನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಕೈಕಾಲುಗಳ ಬೆಳವಣಿಗೆಯಲ್ಲಿ, in the growth and development of the motor organs or the body organs, there may be a problem occur, abnormality also occurs. ಅಂದರೆ ದೈಹಿಕ ರಚನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳು ಉಂಟಾಗ್ತದೆ, ವಿಕಾರ ರೂಪದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಗು ಹುಟ್ಟಬಹುದು. then attention deficits behaviors also occurs. Lack of concentration also it leads to lack of concentrations, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಗಮನ ಕೊಡುವುದರಲ್ಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಏಕಾಗ್ರತೆಯ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಬರ್ಬೋದು. Or there may be a problems occur. That problem is called as ADHD. The baby is born with ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏಕಾಗ್ರತೆಯ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಮತ್ತು ಅತಿ ಚಟುವಟಿಕೆಯ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಮಗುವಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಇರಬಹುದು. This is abnormal kind of child. Abnormal kind of child may also born. Then the children with the language disorder and the learning disabilities also happens. Children with the language disorders, in the sense that children with they have a problem while pronouncing the words, or they may have a problem in spelling problems, or they have a problems of learning disability, in the sense of there may be a problem such as learning disability, such as slow learning or academically delayed children may born. ನೋಡಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೆಲ್ಲ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಹುಟ್ಟುವಂತ ಮಗು ಬುದ್ಧಿ ಭ್ರಮಣೆ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು, ಅಥವಾ ಕೈಕಾಲುಗಳ ಚಲನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಉಂಟಾಗ್ಬೋದು, ಅಥವಾ ಅಟೆನ್ಷನ್ ಡಿಫಿಸಿಟ್ ಏಕಾಗ್ರತೆಯ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು, ಅಥವಾ ಚಿಲ್ಡ್ರನ್ ವಿತ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಗ್ವೇಜ್ ಡಿಸಾರ್ಡರ್ ಅಥವಾ ಭಾಷೆಯ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು, ಭಾಷಾ ಉಚ್ಚಾರಣೆಯ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಲರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಡಿಸಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಮೇ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಹ್ಯಾಪನ್ಸ್, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಕಲಿಕಾ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳು ಹುಟ್ಟಬಹುದು. ವೆದರ್ ದಟ್ ಮೇ ಬಿ ಅ ಡಿಸ್ಲೆಕ್ಸಿಯಾ, grammatical problems are also occurs in the child, or learning disabilities like academically delay or the slow learners, ತುಂಬಾ ಕಲಿಕೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹಿಂದೆ ಬೀಳುವಂತ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆಗಳು ಕೂಡ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಒನ್ ಇಸ್ smoking. See, heavy smoking during the time of pregnancy that leads to anoxia. Anoxia also occurs because of the oxygen deprivation that I have mentioned in the kind of birth. In the breech birth, because of the oxygen deprivation, see, the first buttock appears. Because of that, the head remains over in the mother cervix area itself. Because of that, the oxygen deprivation happens for the baby. Because of that, the mental retardation happens. That is called as anoxia. Not only during that period anoxia happens, but also during, if the mother, during the pregnancy, if the mother smokes a lot, that leads to anoxia because of oxygen deprivation. See, once the mother smokes a lot, that smoking consumes, that behavior itself consumes lots of oxygens. So there may be a shortage of oxygen supply for the fetus or to the baby. So because of this lack of oxygen, the brain development will not get occur, or the brain development gets stuck over there itself. This is called as anoxia kind of mental retardation happens. See, it's a kind of mental retardation occurs due to oxygen deprivation because of heavy smoking. Heavy smoking, if the mother smokes a lot, heavy smoking leads to low birth weight. Normal birth weight is not there in the newly coming baby, or birth weight will be very less. Because of that, the death of the baby also happens. So increased risk of miscarriages. Baby may expire, or baby may die in the womb itself, mother's womb itself. Or poor cognition, or else the poor intellectual ability. See, because of the heavy smoking, low birth weight, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಕಡಿಮೆ ತೂಕದ ಮಗು ಹುಟ್ಟಬಹುದು, or else miscarriages also happen, ಗರ್ಭಪಾತವಾಗಬಹುದು. ಅಥವಾ ಪೂರ್ ಕಾಗ್ನಿಷನ್, ಅಂದರೆ ಸಂಜ್ಞಾನಾತ್ಮಕ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಹುಟ್ಟಬಹುದು. or poor intellectual capacity, the baby will not have enough concentration, lack of concentration, or enough, can't able to put a concentration over anything else, or intellectual capacity or IQ level will be very less when compared to the normal child. So then coffee, tea, cola or cocoa means cocoa is used in chocolates. These contain another frequently used consumed drug, that is includes in that in all these all these items the caffeine are used. See, if the mother, during the pregnancy time, if the mother consumes a lot all these items, that leads in that item caffeine is more. So if these items are taken heavily during the pregnancy time, that leads to low birth weight. Normal birth will be not there in the newly coming baby, newly newly born baby, or birth weight will be very low. Because of that, death of the baby also happens. Then the miscarriages, as it is in the alcohol consumption, the baby may die in the womb itself, or the newly baby born withdrawal symptoms. Now the new baby withdrawal symptoms such as the irritability happens to the mothers pregnancy during the pregnancy, or vomiting sensation happens to the mother frequently. Mother gets vomiting or irritability, the mental irritations also happens. That is not only for the mother but also for the babies also happens. Soon after the birth, the baby feel irritations, or the baby gets vomiting. Whatever the mother feeds to the baby gets vomit. Soon after that, the baby vomit all the things. So the food will not remain in the stomach. The baby will vomit all the items. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಒಂದು ನಾರ್ಮಲ್ ಆದ ವೆಯ್ಟ್ ಇರುವುದಿಲ್ಲ, ಸರಿಯಾದ ತೂಕ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇರ್ತದೆ, ಮತ್ತೊಂದು ಗರ್ಭಪಾತವಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಕೆಫೆಯಿನ್ ಇರುವಂತಹ ಐಟಮ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಕೆಫೆಯಿನ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳುವಂಥದ್ದು ಡ್ರಗ್ಸ್, ಮಾದಕ ವಸ್ತು, ಅದು ಯಾವುದ್ರಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಇರ್ತದೆ? ಕಾಫಿ ಟೀಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತದೆ, ಕೊಕ್ಕೋ ಕೋಲಾ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು, ಅಥವಾ ಕೋಕೋ ಚಾಕ್ಲೇಟ್ಸ್, ಇಂಥ ಐಟಮ್ಸ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಜಾಸ್ತಿಯಾಗಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಇಂಥ ಐಟಮ್ ಕೋಕೋ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಕೋಕೋ ಕಂಟೈಂಡ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಆ ತರದ ಚಾಕ್ಲೇಟ್, ಡಾರ್ಕ್ ಚಾಕ್ಲೇಟ್ಸ್ ತಿಂದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಕೂಡ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳು ಬರ್ತದೆ. ಒಂದು ವೇಳೆ ಗರ್ಭ ಧರಿಸಿರುವ ವೇಳೆ ಇದನ್ನು ಬಳಸಿದ್ರೆ ಈ ರೀತಿಯ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಬರ್ತದೆ. ಅದಲ್ಲದೆ ಕೆಲವು ಸಲ ಮಾನಸಿಕ ಕಿರಿಕಿರಿ ತಾಯಿಗೂ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು, ಮಗುವಿಗೂ ಆಗುವ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಇದೆ. ಮತ್ತೊಂದು ವಾಮಿಟಿಂಗ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ವಾಂತಿ, ಇದು ತಾಯಿಗೂ ಬರ್ತದೆ, ಹೊಸದಾಗಿ ಹುಟ್ಟುವಂತ ನ್ಯೂಲಿ born baby also it occurs, not only for the mothers, in newly born baby also it may occurs. ಸೊ ಬರೇ ತಾಯಿಗೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಮಗುವಿಗೂ ಬರುವಂತ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಇದೆ. ಸೊ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದಿ ವೆಟರ್ನಲ್ ಡಿಸೀಸ್. ಸಿ, ತಾಯಿಗೆ ಇರುವಂತಹ ರೋಗಗಳು ಅಥವಾ ಕಾಯಿಲೆಗಳು. 5% of the women catch an infectious disease while pregnant. See, infectious disease in the sense it spreads to its unborn baby also. Unborn baby, ಇನ್ನೂ ಹುಟ್ಟದ ಮಗುವಿಗೂ ಬರಬಹುದು ಇದು ಇನ್ಫೆಕ್ಷಿಯಸ್ ಡಿಸೀಸ್. ಇಟ್ ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಡ್ಸ್ the disease one which spreads soon to the other person or to the womb or to the baby in the womb. ನೋಡಿ, 5% ಆಫ್ ದಿ ವುಮೆನ್, ಯಾರಿಗೆ 5% ಜನ ಇರ್ಬೋದು ಮಹಿಳೆಯರಿಗೆ, women during the pregnancy time, if she has any infectious disease, this soon spreads to the baby, unborn baby. So especially the rubella, it's a kind of infectious disease. Red rashes happens for the mother itself. Infectious, if the mother is infectious during this kind of disorder, if the mother has, that soon spreads to the unborn baby. That is, red rashes happens. So this is a major kind of problems that occurs to the baby. So that is the well-known teratogen in the sense environmental factors, negative environmental factors. This is the infectious diseases that because of this that happens to the unborn baby. While the baby inside the womb itself, the infectious happens to the baby because of if the mother possesses this disorder, that spreads to the baby. Greatest damage, because of this, greatest damages occurs when it strikes during the embryonic period. If that occurs during the embryonic time itself, during the second stage of pregnancy, that is very, very dangerous. That is the greatest damages occurs. See, the major damages occurs for the babies, especially the skins and to the brain. ಅದು ಚರ್ಮದಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಕೆಂಪು ಕಲೆಗಳು ಬರುವಂತಹ ರೋಗ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಇದು ಕೆಂಪು ಕಲೆಗಳು ಬರೋದು, ಇದು ಇನ್ಫೆಕ್ಷಿಯಸ್ ಡಿಸೀಸಸ್. ಇನ್ಫೆಕ್ಷಿಯಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ವೈರಸ್ ಇಂದ ಬರುವಂಥದ್ದು, ಅದು ಕೂಡ ಸಾಂಕ್ರಾಮಿಕ ರೋಗ ಅದು. ಸೊ ಇದು ಮುಂದಕ್ಕೆ ಹರಡುವಂತ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಇದೆ. ಮಗು ಗರ್ಭದಲ್ಲೇ ಇರುವಾಗಲೂ ಬರುತ್ತದೆ. ಅಂಡ್ ಇಟ್ ಮೇ ಬಿ becomes a major problems once it comes out from the mother's womb, when baby is taken out to the external world. ಇದು ತುಂಬಾ ಗಂಭೀರವಾದ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಆಗಬಹುದು. ಯಾವಾಗ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಮಗುವನ್ನು ಗರ್ಭದಿಂದ ಹೊರಗಿನ ಪ್ರಪಂಚಕ್ಕೆ ಬರುವಾಗ. then mothers become ill. See, when the mothers become ill, or unhealthy conditions happens to the mothers, that shows the eye cataracts, deafness, heart. See, because of this rubella itself, all these problems also occurs. See, if the mothers become ill, not only because of the rubella, if the mothers becomes ill or unhealthy conditions happens to the mother during the pregnancy time, that shows the eye cataracts and deafness, heart, genital and urinary and MR problems occur for the newly born baby or unborn baby. When the baby in the womb itself, the baby will get the problems, or newly coming baby, or when the babies are taken out to the external world, these problems are carried over to the newly born baby, that baby. So if the mothers will ill, ತಾಯಿ ಒಂದು ವೇಳೆ ಅನಾರೋಗ್ಯಯುತವಾದ್ರೆ ಕಣ್ಣಿನ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳು ಬರ್ಬೋದು, ಕಿವಿ ಕೇಳದೆ ಇರುವಂತ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳು ಬರ್ಬೋದು, ಆರ್ ಎಲ್ಸ್ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ಸ್ ಅಕ್ಕರ್ ಟು ದಿ ಹಾರ್ಟ್ ರಿಲೇಟೆಡ್ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ಸ್, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಹೃದಯ ಸಂಬಂಧಿ ಕಾಯಿಲೆಗಳು ಬರ್ಬೋದು, ಆರ್ ಜಿನೈಟಲ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಜನನಾಂಗದ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ, ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ರಿಲೇಟೆಡ್ ಟು ಸೆಕ್ಷುವಲ್ ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನ್ಸ್ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ಸ್ ಮೇ ಅಕ್ಕರ್, ಆರ್ ಯೂರಿನರಿ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಆರ್ ಯೂರಿನರಿ ಇನ್ಫೆಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾಪನ್ಸ್, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಮೂತ್ರದ ಕೊರತೆ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು ಅಥವಾ ಮೂತ್ರ ಅಂತದೆಲ್ಲ ಬರುವ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಇದೆ. ಅಂಡ್ MR, mental retardation also occur if the mothers become ill or unhealthy during the period of pregnancy, especially during the period of embryonic time or else in any conditions. Then the emotional stress. Yes, ಭಾವನಾತ್ಮಕ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳು ಅಥವಾ ಪ್ರತಿಫಲನಗಳು ಉಂಟಾದ್ರೆ ಏನೆಲ್ಲ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ನೋಡುವ. ಸಿ what all the things happens because of the emotional stress. Severe emotional stress during the pregnancy leads to wide variety of difficulties. See, if the mother becomes very severe emotional stress, if the stress is very high, if the stress is very high or in the peak level during the pregnancy level, that leads to a wide variety of difficulties in the unborn baby or in the newly born baby. When the babies comes to the external world, these problems are carried forward to the newborn baby. See, then ಒಂದು ವೇಳೆ ತಾಯಿಗೆ ತೀವ್ರತರವಾದಂಥ ಭಾವನಾತ್ಮಕ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳು ಗರ್ಭಿಣಿಯಾದಾಗಿದ್ದರೆ ಆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳು ಮಗುವಿಗೆ ಬರ್ತದೆ. ತುಂಬ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ರೀತಿಯಾದಂಥ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳು ಬರುವುದಿದೆ. ಲೆಟ್ಸ್ ಸಿ ಒನ್ ಬೈ ಒನ್ ವಾಟ್ ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ ದಿ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ಸ್ ಅಕ್ಕರ್. ಸಿ ದಿ ಇಂಟೆನ್ಸ್ anxiety is associated with the higher rate of miscarriages. If the intense anxiety is associated with the higher rate of miscarriages, if the mother is too anxious or fear intensity, very severe fear associated with a higher rate, very severe fear is there in a mother during the pregnancy time, that leads to there is a major miscarriages, most of the women is undergone to the miscarriages because of this. See, miscarriages in the sense the baby will die inside the womb itself. ತೀರಾ ಗಂಭೀರ ಭಯ, ಗಾಬರಿ ತಾಯಿಗೆ ಇದ್ರೆ, ತುಂಬಾ ತೀವ್ರ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ರೆ ಗರ್ಭಪಾತವಾಗುವಂತ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಇದೆ. ನಾಟ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ದ ಮಿಸ್ಕ್ಯಾರೇಜಸ್ ಬಟ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ದ ಲೋ ಬರ್ತ್ ವೇಟ್, ದ ಬೇಬೀಸ್ ವೇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ below normal level, and the respiratory illnesses, baby will get suffocation problem or the breathing problems also occur for the baby. So not only the low birth weight but also respiratory problems, ಉಸಿರಾಟದ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳು ಕೂಡ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. Then prenatal growth delay, certain physical defects such as cleft palate, heart deformities and pyloric stenosis. Says the prenatal growth delays. The prenatal growth delays, certain physical defects happens. Cleft palate in the sense the baby's lips tear from the nose areas till lips areas till nose areas. Baby's lips got broken. broken lips. So if the surgery will not happens, or the parents will not take their child to the surgery immediately soon after the birth, or soon during the little age itself, in the while during the babyhood itself, the baby will not get the problems in the pronouncing the words, or in the while the saying, or in the speech. If the parents is not taking care of the baby during that period, or the baby will take the surgery after sometimes after some years, the speech problems occurs for the baby. This is one kind of a chromosomal abnormalities. And the heart deformities, in the sense heart deformities, heart diseases may occur for the baby. And another one, pyloric stenosis. As you know, pyloric, pilaria, that's one. Pyloric, in the sense that the stomach and intestine becomes very thick, and baby unable to pass its latrine, baby unable to pass its wastages from the anus area. So there is a problem also occurs. See, the prenatal growth delays ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಹುಟ್ಟುವಂತ ಮಗುವಿಗೆ ವೇಗವಾಗಿ ಬೆಳವಣಿಗೆ ನಡೆಯುವುದಿಲ್ಲ, ಮತ್ತು ಫಿಸಿಕಲ್ ಡಿಫೆಕ್ಟ್ಸ್, ಕೆಲವೊಂದೊಂದು ದೈಹಿಕ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಕ್ಲೆಫ್ಟ್ ಪ್ಯಾಲೆಟ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಹರಿದ ತುಟಿ, ಇದೊಂದು ವರ್ಣತಂತುವಿನ ವಿಕೃತಿ ರೋಗ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ದೆನ್ ಹಾರ್ಟ್ ಡಿಫಾರ್ಮಿಟೀಸ್, ಇನ್ ದ ಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಹಾರ್ಟ್ ರಿಲೇಟೆಡ್ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ಸ್, ಹೃದಯ ಸಂಬಂಧಿ ಕಾಯಿಲೆಗಳು ಬರ್ಬೋದು. ಮತ್ತೊಂದು ಪೈಲರಿಕ್ ಸ್ಟಿನೋಸಿಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇದು ಹೊರ ಹಾಕುವಂತ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ, ವೇಸ್ಟೇಜಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಮಲ ವಿಸರ್ಜನೆ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಕಷ್ಟಪಡಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಕರುಳು ಮತ್ತು ಹೊಟ್ಟೆಯ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಬರ್ತದೆ. ದೆನ್ ದಿ mother's fear, if the mother's fear is in the peak level, or the anxiety that stimulate the hormones, negative kinds of hormones. See, mother's fear and anxiety, because of anxiety and fear, that will produce negative types of hormones that released into the blood. Once the hormones released into the blood, that negative hormones released into the blood, that are sent directly to the newly born unborn baby parts, that are sent to the uterus itself. So this causes a dramatic rise in the fetal heart rate, or heart rate. That is, sorry, by mistakenly I have mentioned heart rate. And activity also becomes very low. Fetal has to be during the fetus period, the baby's activity has to be more, baby's movements will be more, baby's movements will be more. But if these are all the things, the mother's fear leads to this thing. These have because of the mother's fear, the negative hormones occurs that are released to the blood, and that sent to the different parts of the baby's body, and that leads to a fetal heart rate increases. ಮಗುವಿನ ಹೃದಯ ಬಡಿತ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗ್ತದೆ, ಮತ್ತು inactivity also occurs. The activity level becomes very less. So these are also occur. I have given one YouTube link, that is one of the movie scenes. What are all the measurements one should take during the time of the pregnancy? If the good environmental ones the family gives to the mothers during her pregnancy, what are all the things happen? See in that video. This is video from the Pasanga 2 movie, acted by Surya and Amala Paul. You must watch this movie. This is one of my request. Then you will get a clear cut picture about this problems. If especially the environmental influences, the importance of environment also you come to know. Then the maternal age. If the maternal age, see the ತಾಯಿಯ ವಯಸ್ಸು ಕೂಡ ತುಂಬಾ ಪ್ರಾಮುಖ್ಯತೆ ವಹಿಸಿದೆ. Women who delay having a children face increased risk of infertility or miscarriages or chromosomal defects. See, women who delay, most of the women who are going for the work, they delay in having a children. They will take some gap soon after the marriage. They will not ready to give a birth to a baby, so they are taking 1 2 years is enough, but they want to take a break, long gap they used to take. Why? Because that may interfere in they think that that may interfere in in their career achievement. So because of that, they are delaying in having a children. Because of this, see, because of this, they may face lots of problems. See, there is a risk happens, that is, one is the infertility. Infertility is in the sense, it does not, it is nothing but the women will not have the capacity to bear the child. Bearing the child capacity will be very less. So women can't able to bear the child. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಮಗುವನ್ನು ಮಗುವನ್ನು ಗರ್ಭ ಧರಿಸುವಂತಹ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ತೀರಾ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇರ್ತದೆ ಮಗುವಿಗೆ, ತಾಯಿಗೆ. ಯಾಕಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ women's age will be more soon after that. Why? Because the either women can able to produce ovum, but also men can able to produce a sperm, but either the ovum or the sperm becomes weak. Because of that, the women loses her child bearing capacity. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಆಕೆ ತಾಯಿ ಆಗುವಂತಹ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆಗಳು ತೀರಾ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇರ್ತದೆ. Then miscarriages happens. Miscarriages in the sense because of this itself, because of the women delaying in having children. That is also because of the women's age, nothing but because of weak ovum or weak sperm, the miscarriages also happens. The baby dies inside the womb itself. ಗರ್ಭಪಾತವಾಗುವ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಇದೆ. Or else the chromosomal defects. Chromosomal defects also because of our chromosomal abnormalities, also because of women's age or age of the couples. So either ovum or the sperm become ovum, or any one become weak during the mingling time. That leads to that carry forward to the next stage in the embryonic stage, especially during that body organs are formed, abnormal kind of body organs are formed during that period, that carry forward to the fetal period, and the newly born baby is also born in the chromosomal defects. There are several kinds of chromosomal defects are there. Say one is the Down syndrome. 21st pair of chromosome is in spite of 2 chromosomes, they may have 3 chromosomes. That leads to Down syndrome, or Mongolism also called as. It is also called as Mongolism. Then the cleft palate, polydactyly. These are all the chromosomal abnormalities happens. So then the teenage mothers also, see, the teenage mothers in most of the state or in most of the places, especially in the village areas, they are marrying. They are especially the girl child marriage occurs in that areas. So if the child marriages occurs, they become pregnant during their teenage or early ages itself. During their teenage ages, they are not enough mature physically. So because of their physical immaturity, they can't able to produce a strong ovum or strong sperm. For in the male, strong sperm will not occur, or in the female, strong ovum will not produced. In the male, strong sperm will not produced. So because of that, that causes prenatal problems in the unborn baby. ಸೊ ವಯಸ್ಸಲ್ಲದ ವಯಸ್ಸಿಗೆ ಸಣ್ಣ ವಯಸ್ಸಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಮದುವೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಸಣ್ಣ ವಯಸ್ಸಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಮದುವೆ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಫಿಸಿಕಲ್ ಇಮ್ಮೆಚುರಿಟಿ, ದ ಮದರ್ ವಿಲ್ ನಾಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಇನಫ್ ಸ್ಟೆಮಿನಾ ಆರ್ ದ ಫಿಸಿಕಲ್ ಕೆಪಾಸಿಟಿ ಟು ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ದಿ ovum, or to carry the, or to bear the baby, to bear the baby, or bearing capacity is also very less. Next, my references are Burke Laura Burke's Child Development 6th and 7th editions, and Elizabeth Hurlock's Developmental Psychology book, 5th editions. These are my references. I will show you now the MCQs, what are all the MCQs I have added, but I didn't mention answers. Why? Because this is an assignment for you. Once I have See, just see my presentations. There is an answer in my presentation itself. So rubella occurs during dash period. Say during the conception period, zygote period, embryo or fetus. Have to find the answers. And the second one, heavy smoking during pregnancy leads to dash. Heavy smoking during pregnancy leads to what? Dyslexia, aphasia, anoxia, or rubella. What problems occur? If mother drinks heavily throughout her pregnancy, that leads to dash. If mother drinks heavily during her throughout her pregnancy, that leads to either rubella, Down syndrome, Klinefelter syndrome, or fetal alcohol syndrome. What is that? Just see. One term I have mentioned. Teratogens refers to what? Initially itself, at the beginning itself, I have mentioned teratogens is nothing but dash, either drugs, hormone, treatment, or environmental agent. Then women who delay having a children face increased risk of, just now I have covered this topic. See, women who delay having children faces the increased risk of infertility or childbearing capacity, miscarriages happens, or what happens? Chromosomal defects happens, or all of the above. Right? What are the problems happens? Then, thank you for listening my sessions. Thank you, one and all.